Going. So first of all, thank you everyone for coming to online during these crazy times to get out some good news here about the Bucks. We know it's tough times out there, and we just want people to stay safe and wash your hands and practice social distancing. Um, on our side, we have some really good news here today. I'm excited that we're going to announce that we're announcing our head coach and general manager for the 2020-2021 season will be Ryan Donald, who's in the picture beside me. Um, he is currently with Yale University as an assistant coach. Comes to us with 5 years of experience there. Played there and brings a lot of high-level coaching experience with him. And I definitely feel he's the right person to lead this team, to build the hockey operations side of this franchise, and to make us an elite franchise in this league, which I think Ryan can absolutely do. So I'm very excited to work with him closely and to see what we can do here. So I'll just turn it over to him for a second, just to give a brief statement about his coming here.
Yeah, I'm excited to get started. And getting to know Nathan, the ownership, knowing a little bit about Cranbrook, being from Western Canada myself. It's an exciting opportunity for me in a lot of different ways, professionally, to get involved with an organization at the ground level that has a great vision. I think the ownership, the community, the support that's already there, and just knowing that area, knowing it's a hungry market for hockey, and it's going to be, in my opinion, one of the best places to play in the BCHL. The opportunity to get in there and get my fingers involved and try to piece together a roster, build the hockey operations side of things, and build a culture and an environment for our players to grow and develop each and every single day as hockey players, as human beings. Be a part of that community in Cranbrook where they're going to get a great junior A experience. And that's been, as I've gone through this process and heard more and more about the vision and where this organization is heading with the Bucks is kind of stood out to me. My background in coaching has been awesome. I've enjoyed everybody I've been able to work with, all the different places I've gone, people you get to know. And, the goal here is obviously to put all those pieces together and find what's going to work and what's going to allow our guys that take advantage of the opportunity Cranbrook's going to have, the resources we're going to have, the facilities we're going to have, and use that to propel them, into the next stage of their career. So certainly excited to get going.
Awesome. So from there, I'll just kind of open it up to some questions here. Why don't you go ahead, Trevor? You can start us off.
You touched on the point of coming to Cranbrook and building something. This is a fresh start. This is a new expansion franchise. I guess walk us through, how you start tackling everything from, say, finding assistant coaches to recruiting players.
It's an ongoing process. It's certainly a bit of a moving target with now you add in where we're at from the social distancing, the coronavirus, all the things that that are on our plate right now. But it's not something that's that I'm afraid of. It's relying on your networks. It's relying on people you get to know. And fortunate for me, the last 5 years here at Yale, assistant coach, you're wearing a lot of hats, and one of my hats has been recruiting. So I've been pretty actively involved in getting out and watching players, and fortunately kind of from everywhere. So it's New England prep schools, it's Ontario, it's all the way out to BC, Alberta, and getting a good look at different players, whether they're players that are going to come to Yale, whether they're players that are going anywhere else, or they're players that are looking for an opportunity, to come into town and kind of push some schools over the hump in terms of what they can do at the next level. So I think, that'll answer hopefully a little bit of the player side of things, in having some good conversations with coaches, players, families, advisors, run the whole gamut. And then from, the hockey staff side of things, same thing is that the past 5 years you've been getting to know your network and building relationships with coaches at different levels. So whether that's midget coaches, whether that's junior A coaches, prep school coaches, you start to build your network and kind of spread yourself out a little bit that way, so you can exactly, like I said, build relationships and find out information about players. And I think that will, set us up for success as we're moving into the summer. And those are, boxes that we're going to start to check in terms of the building out our staff and what that's going to look like and things like that.
Maybe a question for both of you, if you want to answer. But coming from Yale, obviously a lot of junior A players are, looking for scholarships, and the BCHL has a pretty strong record of moving players on to college hockey in the United States. How valuable is your experience from Yale in that respect, being able to come into a franchise like the Cranbrook Bucks and, shepherd players on to the NCAA level?
I mean, I can jump in on it, Nathan, if you want to add afterwards. But I think that's kind of one of the I'm hoping that that's going to be one of the things that's going to kind of drive us forward and be able to get us going from day one. Obviously on all the different aspects. Coaching, being on the ice with a Division I hockey player for the past 5 years has given me a pretty good knowledge of what that player looks like, and even the maturation from day one through the end of their career is it changes, but you get to see what abilities and what skills are required for that. Now when I move back to the junior A level, now you're starting to see and hopefully working with our players and seeing them day to day, knowing what their habits, their details, everything, lifestyle, nutrition, sleep, what they need to improve on in order to be able to have success at that level and expect success at that level. The coaching, the recruiting side of it, now to turn to that end of things is, now I'm looking at players trying to get in on a group that are looking for that edge or that next step, that they're moving from midget hockey or prep school hockey and they need that 1 year or 2 years to ready themselves. And it's kind of hammering on those other details I talked about, whether it's their preparation, strength and conditioning, whether it's just taking it seriously and kind of pushing themselves in a way that they haven't really been pushed before, maybe, and getting and as I speak a little about Cranbrook too, is getting out to our facility and getting out shows that, right, that they're willing to get outside of their comfort zone. If they're from a big city, they're from the mainland and things like that, where sometimes it's easier to stay closer to home, but now you're venturing somewhere new. You're venturing out and really kind of putting your eggs in that basket of committing to a place and a town and a program where you're kind of showing that your investment is there.
Yeah, I'll give a quick 2 cents on that one. The NCAA experience that Ryan has was obviously a big draw for us initially. And then as I got to know him and the relationship grew, it was clear that he was the type of person that kind of shared the philosophy. So to answer your question, absolutely, the NCAA experience and connections that Ryan brings are going to be pretty invaluable to us, especially early.
And quick follow-up, Nathan, just for the position of head coach and GM, was that something you wanted to keep as one person? Normally, that's pretty common through the BCHL is a head coach / GM. In terms of the breakdown of your hockey operations, did you want both roles to be inhabited by one person?
That was my preference from day one. I've seen too many non-agreeable relationships between head coaches and GMs in the past that I thought that it would, if the right fit came along, I was willing to consider it. But it was always my preference throughout this whole process to find someone that could do both roles. And obviously Ryan is more than capable to do that.
I've hogged the microphone enough. I don't know if anyone else has questions.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Ryan, just your decision, I guess, to come to Cranbrook with your experience at Yale. Can you just talk about, what that conversation was like with Nathan and what really drew you to coming with this new franchise and really, starting things here really fresh and brand new?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think there was a few different elements that went into it. Obviously, you kind of go down the process and you reach out and you ask questions and just kind of as that relationship and, getting to know Nathan and hearing about, his vision for it, the ownership and what their goals were and their why for this whole process. It was, super apparent to me that this was something that they had a vision for that aligned with what my vision was. And it's taking kids and giving them an opportunity to to grow their game, grow as human beings, and give them an opportunity to move forward and take their hockey career to the next level. Junior A is a nice platform for them to do that. It was great for me playing experience-wise. I played in the Alberta Junior League for 2 years and really went from having no idea about the NCAA to getting recruited to play at Yale and fortunate enough to graduate from there 4 years later. So it can really do a lot for kids, as they move through the junior ranks and junior A level to move on to college. And then for me, professionally as well, the opportunity to be a head coach, the opportunity to be the guy at the front of the ship that gets to make the decisions is kind of where I wanted to get over the course of my career, and start getting those repetitions. That's professionally part of the deal is understanding, the way you're going to communicate with the group, finding your voice as the head coach. As an assistant, you get to do a lot of things. My boss here at Yale has been great over my 5 years, and in terms of allowing, the opportunity to tinker with different things, run drills in practice, run special teams, but to kind of, take that a step further where now you're, the buck stops at your desk a little bit more, and you get to make some decisions that you're going to find out if they work or they don't work, and obviously learn as you go along. But there was just, and then, added the icing on the cake is the city, the community, the facilities, and I believe this. I've had some conversations over the last few days. I think if you fast forward 3-4 years, if we do this thing right, Cranbrook can easily be one of the top destinations in that league, in terms of, facilities, professionalism, top to bottom, ownership through coaching staff, hockey operations, everything is there, and they're going to have a facility that's great. They're going to have, the strength and conditioning piece, opportunities to do that. They're going to be close to the high school, and everything like that is what goes into the decisions for these families. And I really believe that. I think there's a couple around the league that are kind of the premier, and then I don't see why Cranbrook can't be right there too.
Awesome, Ryan. That's super exciting for sure. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks.
And just a quick question here from over the chat here is, what are our plans to work with some of the local teams, Junior B teams, Kimberly Dynamiters, Fernie Ghost Riders, and stuff like that? I know I've touched on that before, just talking about how these relationships could be valuable, but Ryan, why don't you just touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that's important. I think having, and I talked a bit about network and talked a little bit about people you can rely on and make phone calls to. And I think, with such a good crop at the junior B level and the KIJHL being right in your backyard in a lot of ways, it would be foolish to not, but building relationships with coaches, having conversations with coaches, being respectful of their process too, I think is an element of it. Understanding, that they've got their games, they've got their development process and things that are they're accountable for in their markets, but also at the same time understanding that, at the individual level, I think a lot of players are, their goal is to move forward, and using that junior B level is a great opportunity. It's a great chance for them to get reps and be in a role that they think is appropriate for themselves. And if they merit it with their play and the coach believes in them and moving them on to the junior level, I think is their goal as an individual. So, but having good relationships, and like I said, connecting with coaches and all that stuff is huge. And it's, certainly expect to do that.
Anything else from anyone else before we wrap this up?
Nathan, one last question from me. Maybe not, but I apologize. I've asked you this one-on-one before, but I think now is a good time to talk about it again. But you yourself have had experience playing junior A, and you've had the dual experience of being a player, and now you're an executive running franchise. And I guess just walk me through, how you can pull on those experiences to recruit and build your program.
I think there's so many different angles that I want to take because of the experience I have, all the way from the way the dressing room is set up, the type of people that we bring in to create relationships with the players, I think is so important. From billets to what we're eating on the road to all these little things that maybe people that don't have as much experience playing wouldn't necessarily catch. I feel very fortunate, and obviously Ryan has the same experience, that we know what these players kind of would like to see, and we know what's going to help them grow in their abilities. And I think that we're really well suited to deliver that.
Awesome. That's it for me, I think.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thanks, Nathan and Ryan. Appreciate the time.
Yep. Thanks
you.
everyone for being here. Appreciate it. And stay safe out there, everybody.
Yeah.
You too.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Yeah. See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks.